So we're doing the water portion and sanitary. We're at Three White Colony. We're going to start in the water meter room on the North CRU side. It's pretty simple. You have a water meter. It's got a electronic sensor, so the city never has to come and actually check the water meter. The sensor is not mounted. We waited for the installation to be done. We're going to mount it on the wall. So if you see the sensor, that's what it's for. The wire will come back to this meter. There was never any doubt as to how much water you're using. They just drive by and it just reads automatically. Okay. So the water comes in, obviously the split service, sprinkler. Our water comes in, goes through the meter, goes through the backflow preventers, and then goes up into the ceiling space. That goes into the main corridor that is in front of the elevators. If you want, we'll follow the path. Yeah, so there are no sub-meters, but what you can do, each of these CRUs, they have their own water weighting just above the HRVs. So when it comes time to have these tenants, want to do their fit up, you would just come in. They have a water line waiting up here. So there's a water line up here waiting. So you would just get a meter and you guys would have to do the math to see how much they're using versus your entire bill. But it's still metered, so you're not guessing. But there's no meter until the CRU is occupied. So it's pretty much set up so you would have a hung hot water tank right here.
Oh, okay.
And then this would be the drain for the pan. So we would, whoever does the fit up, they would just cut the cap off, hang a pan, and put the water tank on that. And then now you have a hot and cold, and then they would bring the hot and cold into their unit. Well, that way it's the energy is for sure theirs. And I don't know how you guys are monitoring the energy. That's a different trade, right? But I mean, for a small hot water tank that's going to go up in there, it's not going to use a lot of energy. But you guys could probably figure out a way to, calculate. They do have their own panels out here. The two panels on the wall are, the second panel, this one that's closer, that's the panel that's for this side.
For this side?
Yeah, the back panel is for the rest of the building. So I know there's no meter on that. Actually, yes, you have 18 backflow preventers.
18, okay.
So I have someone from our company coming on Monday and Tuesday, and they're going to test all of them. You really have your two main double check valves that are in here. You have every mop sink has one on the hot and cold right throughout the building. Your mop sinks are on 2, 7, 12, 16, 21, and penthouse. And then your water makeups on the heating system, there are 2 of them for that. They have to be tested. The city demands it. Okay, so like we saw the pipe coming through the ceiling, it comes through here, and it travels through this corridor, and then it turns in and it goes to the booster pump room. That's the water main for the 4-inch. That's the low pressure side. That's just city pressure. After the booster pump, obviously it's the high pressure side. Behind you is the main floor mop sink. So yeah, you have a mop sink room in here. Let's go to the booster pump room so you can see where that is, and that comes back. This is your water booster. Come on this side. I'll just show you here. These are set up to modulate for how many pumps run at once. So it's based on demand. The system knows what it wants to do. You don't have a password right now. If the green is outlined, that means the pump is enabled. But right now, there isn't enough demand, so you only have one pump running. This will tell you your pressure coming in. Right now, coming in at 62 PSI, and it's boosting to 140. So if you have a higher demand, these will just turn on sequentially. It's also programmed in the sequence, so there's an even amount of use. So if you come to this and you check it, And this one's running, but the other two aren't. It's just because it's trying to even out the use on each pump.
Okay.
So it's not a problem. It picks whichever pump should be running. So this pump sequence isn't something that is settable. It's just based on what the brain thinks needs to happen to keep each pump running the same amount of time. There's no time where you can shut off a valve without turning this off. You'll destroy the pump. So you absolutely can't shut off a valve.
Okay.
You should, because your suction will go down. You won't have any pressure coming in. You could potentially cavitate the pumps. Well, if the city is shutting it down, you don't have water in the building regardless. It's not your fault, it's the city, but you should definitely shut this off.
Okay.
If you do need to shut it off, it's pretty simple. You just press on it and press stop, and that's it. You close, it'll shut down. If you're shutting down all three, just do one after the other. Press on it, press stop, go back, press each one. And the only reset is if you have an alarm.
Okay.
The alarm will definitely start screaming at you. You can reset it. You would have to look in the service, and this will be set up a little better so you can have your like information for what kind of alarm went off. But right now it's not set up. You just reminded me. I have to get this set up. So this will tell you what happened. You know what I mean? So it's very difficult to cause damage to the pump with any valves upstream because there's always going to be open valves, right? It's just downstream. If someone, let's say, comes to service the water meter, you have to shut this off because it will cavitate the pumps. You know, cavitation, you know, you have vacuum, and it's just going to bust out your impellers. Yeah, turning off the pump will just protect the pump. You shouldn't have to shut the valves off. Well, if you have to, you can, right? If you shut the valves off on this side, on the other side, that's the high pressure side. You know, if you don't want to, let's say, drain down your building, you turn off your pumps and then shut the valves on the other side. You know that this is the water coming in and the other side is the high pressure side going. They're not serviceable. I'd say longer than that.
Okay.
Yeah, probably 20 years. But yeah, they're wet rotor, they lubricate themselves.
Okay.
There isn't a reason to be really touching any parts of the pumps.
Okay.
You know, it's a $180,000 pump. You just don't want to be touching it. Yeah, it's designed to run on its own. There shouldn't be any servicing happening. No, it will tell you if it needs anything.
It will tell.
Yeah, if you have one of the pumps that is on trouble, it will tell you that there's a pump that has an issue. It'll shut down the pump on its own. We have a service side. Yeah.
No.
So just no touching.
Okay.
Programming, I mean, the 140 PSI is already set so it works for the entire building. I don't know how much you guys know about head pressure, but right now it's at 140 at this floor, which means in the penthouse you're going to have about 37, 38 PSI. Actually, probably closer to 35. The cold water goes up to the mechanical room. The hot water starts in the mechanical room. So you have the reverse that happens with head pressure. So you can't boost the pressure here to give more pressure, let's say, for the upper floors. What would end up happening is you would have too much pressure. I guess if I back it up, your water system is broken into two sections. So you have from 2 to 11 and 12 to 21. So there's two separate sections on the hot and the cold. So if you start at 37 PSI on level 21 with the hot water, by the time you get down to level 12, you'll have about 78 PSI. The maximum you can bring through pressure to any plumbing fixture is 80. So even if you boost this by 5 PSI, you're going over the maximum. So you can't really adjust this unless there's issues. Well, then we have to probably install another pressure reducing valve.
Yeah.
You have pressure reducing valves on 2, 11, and 12 right now. So I don't really want to jump, but let's say your cold has a pressure reducing valve on 2. So it's at by the time you factor in head pressure, your cold is probably at 132 psi on level 2, and then it brings it down to 75. So by the time you get to level 11, your pressure, let's say in your shower at the top, isn't going to be that great, but it's still acceptable, but it's pretty much getting near the minimum that you'd need for a shower. On 11 and 21, those have the least amount of pressure because they're at the top of each section. On 11, 12, and 21.
11, 12, 21.
Your water main, like your main valves, are on 12 and 21. 12 is cold going up, and 21 is hot coming. On 2, you have all the colds going up for the bottom section. Every riser has
riser.
isolation valves.
Okay.
So if you have a problem in an O2 suite,
Yeah.
you just shut off the O2 suites. The only thing with the design is that if you do have a problem in an O2 suite, the cold valve is on 2, but the hot valve is, let's say, on 11.
Oh, okay.
So you'd have to go to 2 different floors to shut off
Shut off
both
the
sides.
side.
Yeah, for the entire section. So if you shut off the O2s, every O2 has no water. Probably only really ever have to do that in case something happens. Let's say someone kicks the valve at the toilet and, breaks off something. Well, you have to shut off the water.
Yeah.
But that's not really something that happens because that's intentional damage. So I don't think you guys would actually have to really ever shut down the risers unless something happens. I can't see, someone cuts a water line. Well, that's not normal. So there shouldn't be really any need to shut off water. But if you do, the valves are all tagged,
Okay.
and you guys will have the valve tag list. That tells you, if you have a problem in an O2 suite, while you're going into the corridor on 2, turning off the valve, and you're going into the corridor on on 11, and shutting off that valve. So they reverse, right? Cold is going up, hot's going down, and that's the entire building is set up like that. Water valves will be on 12.
12, right.
The hots will be on 21.
21. Okay, great.
The base of every riser has a drain valve,
Okay.
that you can hook up a hose to. So if there is something that needs to be reworked, you can at least drain down the separate risers and rework whatever you need to rework.
Okay.
I would find it highly unlikely that you'd even have a problem. I can't even think of a scenario where you would have to turn off the water. It depends where the pipe is. If the pipe is near the base, like here you have a 12-inch coming out of the ground. If the crack was there, well, your entire building has to stop flushing. But I can't see a reason why a crack would develop. All of the piping underground was hung, so it's not just in the ground. So if there's any settling, it won't move your piping. So maybe on the other building where this happened, the piping wasn't hung, and when ground moves, it pulls the pipe down. Yeah, well, we didn't put any rubber couplings on any riser, so you won't have anything in the walls
Okay.
that would have an issue. Everything has been tested and has been running water for months. So there's no wet spots right now.
Alright.
So we don't anticipate having any wet spots. But it's not hard to, break it down, shut off riser by riser, so you can isolate something without turning off the water to the rest of the building. So it's separated, but only so much. Ideally, in an office building, you would have a pressure reducing valve on every floor, so you can control the pressure on every floor, so you wouldn't end up with low pressure at the top of a section. But for cost savings, it's really expensive to put pressure reducing valves on every floor.
Okay.
It's extremely expensive. It would have cost an extra couple $100,000. And they went with what was the most manageable. So, like I said, from here, high pressure goes back. It goes through the electrical room, and then I'll show you where the base of the shaft is. Then we'll go to level 2 to see the continuation of the water. Out of the booster pump, you have your water main that comes up to here, and goes straight up. So we'll go up to level 2 to follow the continuation of it. Your main water riser comes up in here. This will become a chase all the way up to penthouse. So it just continues. You have your cold water going up. You have your hot water coming down. You have your natural gas line going up. So the natural gas, it actually comes out of this chase and goes over to that side up to the top of the building. And we'll see that when we get to the penthouse. So coming out of here, you will have a pressure reducing valve here,
Okay.
right above here. And this big pressure reducing valve will run down the corridor, the main line, and at every suite, you have your shutoffs that pick up all your risers. So we moved the valves into the corridor to make it, faster if there's an emergency. You don't have to wait for access to a suite.
Yeah.
Originally, it was supposed to be into the suites, and I just didn't think it was a good idea, and they okayed us to just put it in here. The locations, ultimately, we're going to have the little dots.
Okay.
That way you can tell, blue will be your cold water shutoffs, red will be hot water shutoffs. So these go all the way down the corridor, and every riser has its own valve.
Yep.
You have a hot water recirc system. So the recirculation is on 2 and 11. So the base of the hots turns into a recirc and it goes back to the penthouse on the top section. The base of this recirc system actually goes into these tanks to reheat them and goes back to the hot on 11. So it's 2 separate systems for recirc. So it's low recirc, high recirc. And same thing with the cold water. You have a separate system, 2 to 12 or 2 to 11 and 12 to 21. So everything is split in 2. This recirc doesn't go back to the penthouse. This is just for the recirc, because this is basically when the water on the hot got to its coldest point. So it reheats it here, sends it back, and feeds it back to the hot water coming in on 11. So it's just a big cycle. So it's faster to get hot water at all your fixtures. It would be too difficult to have the recirc go all the way up because the pressures wouldn't allow a pump to push that high.
Yeah.
So it had to be split up into 2. The laundry is fed from underneath on the main floor for the colds. The hot is fed from the riser because the hot was in the penthouse. So the valves, again, will be identified where they are. I don't know if it's, worth getting into seeing all this. You guys will have a lot of chance to explore, but it's pretty simple to see where it comes from. The hots will come from the middle of the room.
Okay.
Again, you'll see the red dot for the hot, and the colds come up in behind.
Okay.
The hot that feeds the main floor goes down through the floor here, there, and feeds the main floor UTR and the mop sink.
Okay.
And that's it for fixtures on main floor. So it's still part of your low side system. Yeah, every unit has its own valve. I still have the wrong one. I have 2 fobs. One of them is not the right one. That's the right one. So each unit's going to have its own shutoffs at every unit. So you can always, service
it. Okay.
one unit at a time.
Oh.
No, these are hammer arresters. The commercial washers, they have a fast-acting solenoid, and they shut fast. So you have water hammer. So these take care of water hammer. So every laundry box in the building has a water hammer arrestor. Yeah, the top of the risers all have hammer arresters as well, but it's a smart idea to use the boxes that have hammer arresters. Otherwise, you'll feel a lot of jiggling in the lines. Well, these pumps don't have an auto. If you turn them on, they're on. They have 3 speeds. So if you find that it's not working fast enough, you could turn the speed up higher. There's a little knob underneath that has just 2 positions. You can turn it from 1, 2, or 3. So you can change the speed of the pump. But I think we're running it on the 2nd speed, and we're finding that we get the hot water pretty fast. You could adjust the speed. I mean, if it's working, if
Yeah.
you start getting complaints,
Of course.
I would say, sure, try turning it up. I just don't want to overwork the pump because it has a lot of work to do to get 10 floors.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? If you make it work too hard, well, how long is the pump going to run?
It makes sense.
So the every pump that we have has shutoffs on both sides. So if you do have to change a pump, it's a lot simpler. You just shut off both valves and put a new pump in. Yeah, I don't know why they would put an
just in
auto
case.
program
Just-
on recirc. A recirc is on. Sometimes buildings will try to save energy by turning down the recirc overnight.
Yeah.
But what if you have a lot of people who need hot water overnight? You know, like someone who works during the day and is up and awake during the night. So I don't see the reasoning to shut it down at a certain time. It saves a little bit of energy, but wastes a lot of water.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very small. So there are only 2 pumps on the recirc, and it's working so far. Hi, Tony. Are you able to come grab us from level 2, please? So we're on level 11. This is where the hot feeds the lower section, and it goes down.
Oh, okay.
So right now, if you want to actually have a look right here, the pressure reducing valve is right here. There's going to be a filter here, so you can't see. The fan coils don't have filters on themselves. They just have a filter on the return air.
Yeah.
So that you won't be able to see. This was a special order door, so we just got it last week, so they don't have the filter just yet. So there will be a filter in here. On this valve, you can tell what the pressure is coming in
Oh.
and what the pressure is going out of the valve.
Oh.
So yeah, it's set, but like I said, if you adjust the valve, you'll cause a problem at the lower floor.
Sure.
So if someone says they don't have enough water pressure, you can't really do much about it, because if you increase this, you could blow up mostly toilet tanks. Because if the valve is ready to close and you're at 80 something PSI, it could blow up the fill valve, and you kind of don't want to do that. Yeah, so adjusting these, you should talk to us first before you try to adjust for water pressure. We are finding that there's pretty decent water pressure at every sink. I don't think that's a problem, as far as water pressure for being at the top of the section. Yeah. You'll notice it's mostly predominant in the showers where, at the higher pressure, your water shoots straight out. As you go a little lower, there's a bit of air in that one. As you go a little bit higher, your water is going to fall down a little bit more. It's not quite so strong. But we run all of the showers, and we're not finding that it would be unacceptable. You know what I mean? But some people like a really hard shower. Well, tell them to move into 2 or 12 and they have better pressure. That's the drawback of not managing the pressure by floor. It would just be too expensive to manage by floor. You guys, each of these valves is probably $8,000.
Yeah.
So if you bought another 20 of them, that's 160 plus all the piping, plus it's too expensive. You would have to have water mains down every corridor, and you have open ceilings. So it just wouldn't work with the design. But like I said, we haven't found anywhere the pressure is that low that, that we would complain. If something stops working, yes.
Okay.
But that's not something you should be servicing anyway, because it's a little complicated. And you want someone who can do it fast, because that shuts down your hot water for one section or the other. If you ever have a concern, your first thing would be to come in, lower this grill, and just check the pressures.
Just like the pressure.
Yeah, so right now this is showing 30, but it could be deceiving because you don't have a lot of use happening.
Yeah.
As more water use happens, it'll regulate itself. Yeah, we do have it set to approximately 36. That way you end up with no more than about 77 at the bottom of each section. The piping for the recirc on this floor is within the suites, so you have no access to it. We will have automatic balancing valves Those are accessible within the suites, within the access doors of every washroom. So those balance by riser. So, you're pulling an equal amount out of every riser, but they're automatic. So they should never really need any servicing. They're very simple, and it's just a cartridge with a spring. So as long as spring is still springing, you're going to get exactly the flow that you need for the whole system to run. And those, again, they're not serviceable. So if there's a riser that you're having a problem with, odds are it needs a new balancing valve. But they're not serviceable at all. They're stainless steel body. Once they start, they just operate. Yeah, there's nothing you can take apart and fix.
Do you have issues?
No, I mean, it's city water. The city water here is one of the cleanest in North America. There's no hardness to it. I don't think, the only thing you get is dirt from the system. There was a time where everyone was complaining about brown water, but brown water is really just all the calcium and everything that coats the inside of the pipe. When they do a water shutdown, that coating starts to dry out and starts flaking. And when they turn the water back on, it flushes all the water, and then everyone downstream gets what was caked on the inside of the pipe. So it's not anything that is bad that's in the water, it's just buildup of minerals. So that does happen, but it usually dissipates, or it becomes so small that it's not going to clog anything up. And water is always flowing so much that it's not stagnant. Yeah, so with constant flow, I don't think you'd ever have a problem. Well, it's a good idea to clean any tank, because a tank will hold dirt. In the lines, it'll keep moving. But in a tank, let's say on those level 2 hot water tanks, the inlet and the outlet are on top. So at the very bottom, like any hot water tank, you guys should be doing every 6 months of, put a hose on and flush it every 6 months. Any hot water tank. Even probably the storage tanks up in the penthouse, it doesn't hurt, just to keep things fresh. Any bottom of any tank is going to hold some buildup. I can show you, at my mother's house, her hot water tank, it was unbelievable what was in there, but it's just city water. But it just builds up, and she didn't have a qualified plumber as a person who was doing maintenance. So I didn't flush her tank, and then I realized, well, maybe I should flush it more often. But yeah, every tank you guys should flush. Not the glycol, but just hot water. Well, temperature, it depends. Like at different times of year, if you're using chilled in your glycol and you switch to heating on that shoulder season where you do your seasonal switchover, your glycol expands. So it fills up, and then your pressure builds, and then the relief valve goes off. But the same thing in reverse. If you are running heating, and then in the spring, you're going to be switching over to cooling, your glycol shrinks a little bit, and then your pump makes up for it. So it's just temperature of any liquid. It either expands or it contracts. By not too much, but enough to see a visible difference. If you have a constant level going down of glycol, you could have a leak somewhere. Yeah. So I would say, as far as your glycol system, a smart thing to do would be to mark where your level is. And if nothing changes and you're running heating for a couple months, your level should never change. But if it does change, there could be a leak somewhere. In this building, you don't have any glycol within the building. It's just water in the building, so you have a lot of heat exchangers. So if there's a leak, you're going to notice it in the mechanical room. So it's a smarter system. Some systems have glycol right throughout the building. It's just based on hot or cold. When you're heating, it expands. When you're cooling, it contracts. So as far as the water goes, this is the top of the first section, 1 to 11. If we go to 12, we're looking at the same thing. It's just a ceiling, and we'll see a PRV, but that's the cold water side. And that'll feed up from 12 to 21. But we'll go have a look. Okay. So we're on the 12th floor. We're seeing the pressure reducing valve for the cold side. And this is for the top half of the building. It feeds up, going up to every suite. These shutoffs for the risers are within each washroom of this floor. Same thing with 11. You know, you have your shutoffs for the cold, hot going down, and in the 12th floor, you have cold going up. I don't know if you guys want to, someone stole my screwdriver. It's easy. Every access door in the building in the suites is right above the washroom. If you just open that, you'll see valves for the risers.
Okay.
If you get debris in the discs,
Okay.
we did actually have that problem at the beginning because there was a little bit of, when they turned on the water, it hadn't flushed through yet because we weren't using very much water. So when we first set up the one on 11 on the hot, it was making a little bit of noise, and it doesn't make any noise anymore.
Okay.
But it's just debris, and it's now flushed through. You do have to weigh whether or not, you know, is the noise enough that you want to shut down water for a whole bunch of people. But if it suddenly starts making noise, you have no choice, right? You tell everyone, hey, in 36 hours, you know, at this time, we're shutting down the water for 2 hours. I'm sure everyone understands that, well, they live in a multi-story building with other people. Sure. Yeah, he can meet us up there. We're going to stop on 21 just to have a quick look and then go to penthouse. No, it's just the water that's within the valve,
That's within the
and
valve.
there's not that much.
Ah.
There's shutoffs before and after.
Ah.
And there are also adjustments that can be made on it without actually shutting down the valve. It's just on the side. There's some valves on the side that
Oh, yeah, this one. Yeah.
it would take some learning for you guys to know exactly how it works. That all the shop drawings for these would be in your package.
Yeah.
So you could always read up on it if you want to check it. But I would say they're pretty much maintenance free.
Okay.
Like I said, they're quiet.
Insulated.
Yeah, on the cold side, you have to insulate fully.
Okay.
This is the cold one.
Okay.
Cold can sweat, but it has to be humid in the room. Yeah, because it's going to, you know, take the humidity from the room, and it's the cold metal, the humidity touching it, that causes sweating. So the colds are always, I guess it's called the vapor barrier. So everything is taped so there's no air from the room touching the metal. The hots, you'll see, same thing with hydronics. You'll see the final connections on the hots don't have insulation, and on the cold they do. That's actually a really easy way to tell which one's hot and which one's cold. Full insulation has to be cold. You won't lose very much off a little section that isn't insulated on the hot side.
On the hot side.
You barely lose a degree by the time it flows. So that's about it for level 12. These mains, they run in the suites, so you have no access to any mains. But like I said, before each riser is picked up, it will have a valve in each suite. So every suite on 11 and 12 has riser valves for up or down for hot or cold. And they're easily identifiable. Everyone will have a tag.
Okay.
So you guys know which one the hot is, which one the cold is. We're on level 21. This is still your chase for your risers. And you don't have any PRV because you don't need one.
Yeah, it
This
goes
is,
straight up
it's
to-
the top of the cold. So the colds end on this floor. In the access doors in each washroom, you will have the hammer resters. The water hammer resters.
Where's that one again? Sorry.
They're on top of every riser. Yeah, every riser has a hammer rester on top. So the hot and the cold have hammer resters on 21 and 12. Those are almost non-serviceable. You know, if there's ever an issue with a lot of banging, well, we would just shut down the riser, put a new hammer rester on. Your hot riser mains are on this floor. So, you know, if you have an issue, let's say in an 08 suite, you have to come to 2108, turn off the valve, and that shuts off the water going down. If you have something on the cold, you have to go to 1208, turn off that valve. And then now you've shut off both sides, hot and cold. All the piping is again within the suites, and there's no access to the piping. There's no reason for access. There's no valves that are hidden. All the valves are just in the access doors in each washroom. Yep. So we'll hike up to penthouse, just see the top of this. You have 6 storage tanks. So that line that comes from the solar feeds these tanks. If it's hot enough, it just flows through. If it's not hot enough, the water heat pumps help this warm up. If the water heat pumps can't keep up, then a 3-way valve opens and the boiler loop also helps to heat the water. Well, the boiler loop, it goes right around the entire mechanical room, but your primary heating for your domestic hot water is solar in between March and October, and then solar and water heat pump during the winter.
Okay.
The waters, they should be able to handle as much hot water as you need, but you never know if you have a lot of people, let's say, showering at the same time, a lot of dishwashers. If the demand calls for it, the boiler loop helps to heat the hot water.
Okay.
So after the water leaves the tanks, it goes up and it goes through these 2 mixing valves. These are hot water mixing valves right here. Yeah. You see it better on this side. There are 2 hot water mixing valves, and that's what feeds your building for domestic hot water going all the way down. So here it's at a lower pressure. Again, this has the pressure reducing valve on level 11, so it can feed down, and it has no pressure reducing valve on 21, but it's already at the exact pressure that it needs to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So really, that's about it for the water distribution. Like I said, you do have, aside from the fixtures that are normal in the building, you have your mop sinks that are on main 2, 7, 12, 16, 21, and 22. The only other fixture up here is the eye wash.
Oh, you do have
Yeah.
eye wash.
So you have an eye wash just in case you need one,
Yeah.
but you have no other fixtures that run off the water system. Well, depending water treatment and testing on what? Well, that's not on the domestic hot water.
The domestic hot water.
Yeah, domestic you can't add anything to.
Okay.
The only testing that's needed up here is on your hot side for hydronics. You have to have inhibitor, but the system has already been checked. And on the glycol side, you have your glycol level and that has built-in inhibitor. So we just had it retested today.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that before turnover, we're exactly where we're supposed to be. We'll probably leave you with more inhibitor
Yeah.
and 100% glycol in case the level isn't right. But before we leave, we're going to make sure it's exactly 50-50. Well, if you had to add inhibitor, you would add it in just before it goes into the system, I believe.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, you can add it in through here, but you shouldn't need to. These are your side stream filters. Yeah. They're on order, but we've been changing them almost every day.
Okay.
In fact, we change them almost every day. The side streams, well, this is on hydronic, right? So really, if you see your window here, you can see the ball moving. If the ball stops moving, that means you have no flow. That means you know you have to change your filter.
Okay.
If the ball's moving, you know there's flow happening. If this gets clouded, well, you know that, like you guys asked for 10 micron filters,
Yep.
but you guys should probably go down to 5 micron,
Okay.
just so it cleans it out more efficiently. But all the extras you asked for were 10s. We're using 5s right now. That's why it grabs more residual stuff that might be in the system.
Okay.
But yeah, these are nice and clean. You have this here, and there's another one on the other side. The other side is more the glycol side, though. This is for the heating side. Well, you would shut off your before and after valves and put a hose on,
Okay.
and then open this valve to take off the pressure and just spin off your casing. No, because everything has automatic air scoops. So if you have a little bit of air coming in, it's going to work its way out automatically. Yeah, there isn't enough air that's going to come from here to affect the system. If you look at the amount of piping, it's a tiny amount of air.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, if you want, you could always add water, but you'd be adding, if you did it repeatedly, you'd be diluting the inhibitor level.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the glycol now.
So this is the heating side.
Put inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's glycol.
Glycol.
And glycol is going through the panels.
Oh.
Yeah, it goes through the panels to this exchanger
Ah.
and back.
Okay.
It's also connected to the first two storage tanks. So there's 2,000 gallons of glycol tied to the solar. That just gives it extra potential for helping heat the water. The solar will work year round, but obviously when it gets colder, you don't get as much use out of it. So during the winter months, your water heat pumps will do more work. During the summer months, you probably won't ever hear your waters turning on.
So,
Well, the face of the solar panels should be cleaned.
like maybe
It depends on how dirty they get.
just check it like time to time.
Yeah, you would have to have a look at it.
Yeah.
They do get very dusty, especially in the spring.
Okay.
So you might have to clean it every couple weeks. It just depends how dusty they get.
Even though, yeah, especially.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the spring when they do street cleaning, the dust goes everywhere.
Yeah.
They got really dirty in the spring. And again, in the fall, with the winds, they got so dirty that we had to wash them last week.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would say the cleaner you keep them, the more benefit you get out of the solar.
Yeah.
So it's a good preventative maintenance to just maybe do it once a month. But if you find it's not enough, do it more often.
It's the,
You know, I just used a window cleaning brush on a pole,
yeah.
and I just brushed them and then squeegeed them.
Okay. So pressure
You can
washing
pressure
can be-
wash them if you want.
Uh-huh.
You have a hydrant up on the roof, on the upper roof and this roof.
Yeah.
You can hook up a pressure washer if you want. Nothing stopping you. Yeah, wash them and don't do anything. No, the system's automated. The sensors, they're all automated. The sensors decide what the pumps do. Yeah, the sensors decide if it's going to shut down the storage tanks, so you can't start cooling.
But if we found, for example, valve doesn't open, for example, May already, I don't know, plus 20, it should work. It doesn't work, we should call someone.
Well, you guys should be able to look up all the set points on your BMS.
Yeah,
So
BMS.
the solar has all the set points attached to the BMS.
Okay, yeah.
So you'd be better off looking at what your set points are first. And then if you have questions, that's a better time to ask because now you know exactly when it works and when it doesn't. But even in minus 30 temperatures, the panels will give you, I think, close to 80,000 BTUs. It's not a lot, but at minus 30. In the summer, it'll be hundreds of thousands of BTUs.
Yeah, not bad.
So it'll be enough to keep most of the hot water demand just with solar. Well, it would be through us if you need something, you know, first for during warranty period. For any control parts, you still come through us because controls are part of our scope. And then we could direct our controls contractor to work with you to set points. But the set points are set already for as optimum as possible. So you can't really make it better.
Okay.
But everything, you would come through us first, and then, you know, we would go through the controls contractor and work out whatever issue you're having. Yeah. That's it for the water. Yeah. I'm sorry?
Is this an expansion tank?
Yeah.
So what's the package called? This skid, what's it called?
I'd say filter and makeup,
Okay. Makeup.
because this is water makeup. Sorry, this is the water makeup here, right? It's got an RPZ. So this is, if your system needs more water, this is what feeds more water to it.
Okay.
That's for the hydronic, right?
Okay.
Yeah. For chemical side, this is the chemical side of the hydronic heating. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I think we're done with the primary water system. We'd, on Monday, be going through the sanitary, so you guys know where all the risers are and where it starts, where it ends. And I think you guys wanted to do a little bit more about HVAC. So we'll try and set that up to be part of Monday. So we're on the main floor. I just wanted to show you where the beginning of the plumbing starts. If we look in this room, this is the main floor UTR. The main riser comes up right behind that wall, and that's a 10-inch coming up. The riser goes up it turns, comes this way. Sorry, it's 12-inch. If you look right here, you can see this. It picks up the riser that we're going to see next in the laundry room. That riser carries all of the plumbing for the east side of the building.
Okay.
The west side of the building, it continues through that room, turns and goes through the wall and goes in the soffit space. So all of your 1, 2, 3, 4 suites are picked up with piping underneath. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are picked up from the riser that we'll see in the laundry room.
Okay.
So it's split. You don't have suites on level 2 where you have the laundry and the amenity, so the plumbing couldn't go through. So you have soffit space for the west side of the building, and then on level 2 is all the mains that pick up the east side of the building.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you for where the plumbing starts. We'll go up to level 2 and we'll just see where it carries on. So we're on level 2. This is the laundry room. The riser that picks up the rest of the building, like I said, that's everything on the west side, comes up right here. And it branches off, goes through the laundry room to go that way to pick up the north suites. It goes through the amenity room to pick up the south suites. And there's another riser branch that had to go in here that wasn't on the plans, but we ended up having to add one to pick up the corner washrooms, sorry, the east washrooms in the S suites.
What do you call it? PVC.
Yeah, it's XFR.
SFR.
Yeah, it's fire rated PVC.
Okay. Then
Yeah.
you would have this coupling every floor.
No,
Okay.
this is the only place we had to because for the testing, we didn't have any water.
Okay.
So we had no way to test.
Okay.
So we had to pipe everything and then we had no way to tie it together
Yeah.
once the water finally was here.
Okay.
So we had to use a mechanical coupling.
All right. No problem.
But it's heavy duty and it's got the heavy duty clamps on it. Yeah, everything is solid. There are no other mechanical couplings. That's the only one.
That's the one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was just because of not having water that we ended up having to do it that way because we started on level 2 and piped up and we had nothing to tie to at the bottom yet.
Okay.
So your roof drains, they all come down into this riser right here.
Okay.
So this is the riser for the roof. So you'll obviously hear a lot of water when it's raining, a lot, because there's one 4-inch pipe for the entire roof.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just 1 4 inches pipe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just on the max for the load that you could put on a 4-inch, but they use flow control drains,
Okay.
so it allows us to have a smaller pipe.
Okay.
This pipe is in the 07 suites in the wall behind the toilet.
The 07 suites. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
we'll hear some.
you'll hear in the 07s, if pretty much only on level 21, you'll hear some noise because it goes from horizontal to vertical
Okay.
and it's a little noisy. But only when there's a lot of rain is when you'd hear something in the 07s.
And these are all solid pipe throughout all the way to the ceiling.
Yeah.
To the roof. I mean,
Yeah. This one doesn't have any other kind of joints. It's all glue everywhere.
okay.
I believe we're about it. I just wanted to show, if we go to room 203 here, I don't know if you've seen the basic setup of the fan coils. I know it's not plumbing, but I just wanted you guys to have a look.
Yeah.
This is the basic, this is what you're going to see on every floor for fan coils. It's easier to see from here because it's higher ceiling, so there's more space. All of these, the piping to each unit has its own drains on the chilled and the heating. And the base of the risers, there are drain valves at the base that you'd have to access through a combination between that grill and that access door where you can get in. If you guys had to ever drain a hydronic riser, they're at the base of all the risers. So there's drain valves at the bottom of the riser. This is only for the suites that are on level 2. The base of the risers are on level 3 where there's no suites
Okay.
on level 2. So level 3, you have drain valves at the bottom of those risers. But level 2 has, up on the west side of the building, has the drain valves up and underneath at the base of those risers.
Okay. So this will be just the location for that drain valve.
Yeah.
If ever we're going to.
If there was ever a reason to drain a
Okay.
hydronic riser,
Okay.
you would have to shut off the valves on 21, come down here, put hoses on, and open the drain valve.
That condensate goes where? Does it go? Does it?
All of the
tie in
condensates, they go into the washroom.
Okay.
If you want to just have a look, we'll just turn the light on, open the door here. It's a little hard to see because it's all piped high.
Oh, that's one.
Yeah,
Okay.
but this is,
That's where it goes.
yeah,
Okay.
this is where it goes in.
Okay. Good to
Yeah.
know. Actually. So it's on the kitchen, right? Or at what extent?
Yeah, in this building, in the B suites where it's handicap accessible, there wasn't enough space under the lav to actually put the condensate. So those are the only ones that have the condensate in the kitchen. Like the ones where wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
On 21, we can see one. It's just a little different, but there was just no space to do it in, like you get a porcelain shroud under the lav. So there was no space to add another Y.
Okay.
So every condensate goes from the coil to the lav, except handicap accessible.
Handicap. Okay.
Yeah, there's 22 accessible suites, right? It's every odd floor except for 6. So it's 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, every odd floor.
Okay.
Okay, so we can go up. Do you guys ever go and check to see if there's any obstruction in the condensate drains?
We're starting to do it now, but for the other building, we've been doing it for about a year, 2 years now.
20, yeah, we do this like we move this.
Because usually it will give us an error code on the BMS that the pan is, but it's actually not preventive already. It's more reactionary.
Yeah.
So,
Well, these don't have sensors in the pans.
this one doesn't have a sensor.
No.
Okay. So it will just drip if it overflows.
Right, it would drip over. So that's why I'm asking if you guys ever do a preventative maintenance, just by going up and putting your finger where you see the tubing.
Are there enough space there to put like a vacuum hose to suck all water or grime and everything from it?
It would be tight, but you'd have to have a small vacuum head, you know, like maybe a portable vacuum. But there's probably about 1.5 inches of space to fit something in there.
Okay.
Yeah. The pans are all screwed in. Yeah. The clips that the pans come with are too unreliable
Okay.
because they don't sit solid. So it's possible you could lose a pin and then the pan dips down and then it's going to overflow. So the pans are in screwed solid.
Then we can also disconnect that pipe, go into the pan and probably suck it from there, from that hole.
If you had
If
to,
you had
yeah.
to, yeah.
Yeah, if you had to. But I don't really see that you'd have that many problems, but because you have exposed concrete, there's a little bit more dust. So some of that dust obviously makes it to the pan, but it should clean itself out because dust is pretty small. It would just be if you have debris, and none of the pans have debris in them. I'd find it unlikely that it would actually get plugged up. But I would think it'd be a good idea to occasionally, I don't know, every 6
The two
months or
main
whatever.
issue that you will have is probably one is the grade. Some of the pan where the outlet is a bit higher than this side.
Yeah, these
gets
are
down
all
there.
these are all graded. If you see, there's little notes on the front there of the pan in writing.
Okay.
It says GCSS. So my guys can't write that unless they've checked the grade, they've checked the clamps, they've checked the screws, and they've checked every part. Then they can write that. And then you'll see a T that says it's been tested.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
good.
So the pans can't move. They're all graded, and that's why we use the screws, because if you use the clips, as soon as a clip falls down, it'll drop the pan.
Okay.
So we took all the clips out because it's too unreliable.
Okay.
Yeah, before the cooling season is when you should check them. Even once a year is probably enough, because if you check it before cooling starts, well, you're never going to have any dripping in the heating season. So you don't have to worry about it during the winter. It's just as soon as it starts getting warm enough and people start turning on air conditioning. So that's probably a once a year PM, where you're probably doing it in May. You know, just come each room, check to make sure there's nothing in the hole, and it's good to go.
So you mean just remove the spot?
Yeah.
Like what PM? Like we have to remove the spot?
No, you just get up on the ladder, and where the hole is in the pan, where the tube is tied, you just reach in and feel if there's anything.
Can I-
Sure. That's why there's a ladder here.
Have you heard of that? I've heard from one of the HVAC guys that they use a tablet,
They use
like a tablet to kill off whatever algae or whatever on the pan. Have you heard of that?
I wouldn't think that you're ever going to have algae in there.
Okay.
Oh, I mean like it's open here. You check it here, yeah?
No, on this side, on the inside, you would just check to make sure if there's anything in the hole.
That's open area.
Yeah, it's all open. So you just reach in and put your finger. If there's nothing there, your pan works.
Oh,
Yeah,
pretty easy.
yeah.
Yeah. I thought it's like close, but you can.
Then filters will be here, right? The one with the clip.
Well, there's no filters on the units.
Oh yeah, it's outside.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, the return air filters
Yeah.
make it easier than going up there. So if you ever have to, I mean, you'll have to change these. If you have a condition where someone's saying there's not enough heat, I would say first thing you do is you come check this filter.
Yeah.
And then this is what you would have to change.
Yeah. I forgot that the filter's actually outside.
Yeah, they are designed so you could add a filter, but you would change the balancing, you would change the
Yeah.
air in the room if you added a filter there. It's just smarter to use the filter from here.
Okay. All right.
So the only other difference in the plumbing is going to be in the suites that have island sinks.
Yeah.
So there's automatic air vents, but in every sink, I don't know if you want to have a look up high. The automatic air vent is just screwed in. So if you ever have a problem with, let's say, this sink isn't draining, or if you have someone complaining about sewer gas, this will be in about 4 or 5 years. That's when these typically the diaphragm will start to deteriorate, right? So the automatic air vent, all it is there's a diaphragm, and when water is draining in the sink, it pulls the diaphragm down so air can go in, and then the diaphragm snaps back up when it stops draining. So that diaphragm gets old after a few years. So if you ever have sewer gas smell in one of these suites, it's probably just that automatic air vent. I'll probably leave you a few extras. I don't think it was in our turnover material, but I have some extras. They're easy to...
This is screwed in.
Yeah, you would just get inside the cabinet, you reach up, you unscrew it, and
The white. Okay.
Yeah, I see it.
yeah,
The white.
yeah.
shaft there.
So you just screw it, probably use some white T-tape and screw it back in. Like you see where it is right here?
Yeah.
That white thing up there?
Yeah, white single screw.
Yeah, it just screws out and then you put it back in. You don't use a wrench or anything, you just do it by hand. But it'd be a good idea to put T-tape on it.
T-tape, okay.
Yeah, white T-tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no spring inside there. It's just a diaphragm.
Well, the diaphragm has a spring on it to push it up. But like I said, when water flows, it pulls it down to let air in. If this isn't draining, that's the first thing I would check. But like I said, automatic air vents typically don't stop working within about the first 5 years. Most of them are 1.5 inches, but they have a 2 by 1.5 inch bushing that comes with it. Yeah, these are 2 inch and they just screw in. Yeah. Like for a shower cartridge, you would just remove the trim, right? You take off the handle, you take off the plate, and there's stops. You just screw those in and then you can change your shower cartridge. You don't have to turn anything off in the ceiling.
Oh, like 2 screws. Okay.
Yeah. So you don't really ever have to get to the riser valves or the suite valves.
But all the sweet valves would just be right on top of the...
Yeah, through the door. Yeah. Maybe I can open one up here. This ceiling is 2.5 feet taller than the rest of the floors. All the floors above, you open this door and the valves are that far away. You can reach all the floors except for level 2. So I'll see if I can find some larger doors just for this level, just for these suites here. That's only the 1, 2, 3, 4 suites, that this would be a problem. All the other ones, the base of the risers are a little bit more out in the open in the ceiling. So we'll go back to, I know it's not plumbing, but for the water, the ceiling tracks are going to have the dots that tell you where the valves are to shut off a riser, so you don't have to keep trying to find. So we'll put dots wherever you should open the tile to access the valve. So the dots are coming, they're just our last step. Yeah. Okay, so the suites, everything is repeat all the way up. Like I said, the west side is a little bit different than the east side, just on level 2 and 3. Base of all the risers are, on level 2, except for on the east side, they're on level 3. So I don't know if I have a ladder set up if you guys want to see, but we could just walk to the amenity room and just have a quick look. So this is the base of a riser, and there's a drain valve at the base. So it's easy to access where there's a ceiling, right? Like a drop ceiling.
Yeah.
So we'll see about getting that opened up in those 4 suites, just with a bigger door so you can reach higher. But all these other risers are by the core or by the corridor, and they're all close, like accessible from from a ceiling tile. You haven't seen these before, so I just wanted to show you. I know it's hydronic, but you have riser valves here, for draining the riser. This will be typical right through on, this is for like level 3, and we'll see all those base of risers. So it's pretty simple. There's a valve ahead. You would shut off the valve on 21, and you can drain the riser with the hose here. Every riser is going to have a drain valve. Okay, we'll go, oh yeah, these are water risers. So each of the water risers also have drain valves. So that's water, and these are all hydronic. You can put this back. Thank you. So we should be going, I guess, to 21. We'll go have a look just to see a little more of the hydronic valves and balancing valves, so you guys get a better feel for where the shutoffs are. Like I said, you guys will be able to find everything because the dots will be on the ceiling tracks, and they'll be color-coded. So, red, blue is going to be hot and cold water. Probably green is chilled, and we'll pick a color for heating. It's just so you guys don't have to pop 10 ceiling tiles to find
it.
Yeah, it'll just make it easier for you guys. All right, we should be able to go to, I think, 21, unless you guys have questions about how the plumbing system is set up. It's pretty much risers right to the top. So there's no deviation, they just go straight up. They stay in the same walls in every room. They're always behind the toilets, all the risers. All right, let's go to 21. If something is overflowing out of, let's say, a level 2 toilet, well, then you know that this is probably where you have to come clean, right? If it's coming out of the toilet, that means that the riser is plugged before it can go to the mains. But all of these are 6-inch. So there's a 6-inch branch here, 6-inch branch there, and 6-inch there. They're oversized. So every riser is going to be a 4-inch, and they go to a 6 when they go horizontal. So there's no chance that you can put something in the 4 that's big enough to plug the 6.
The 6, okay.
Yeah.
It's a good design now.
Well, it's smart. We could have gone 4 because it was small enough for the fixture load, but we went 6 just to make it so once it comes down the riser, nothing that you put, let's say, in a toilet could block a 6-inch. Yeah. So we're on level 21. The only thing I wanted to show you is just stuff in the ceiling. We can have a look. Like I said, the handicap accessible suites are on the odd floors. 21's an odd floor, so we could just have a quick peek at the difference for your condensate. So again, this is a handicap accessible room. So your condensate will be tied over here. Yeah, and it's all PVC. There's no soft stuff. It's all hard pipe. There's a few where it was probably too close, so we couldn't have one that has the clean out there. Yeah, there aren't many though, but most of them is an easy clean out. If not, it's, you can pull off the trap nut, like sort of the tailpiece nut and the trap, and just take the whole thing down. But yeah, most of them have the plug. All the plumbing risers are in the wall behind the toilet. Yeah. So I would say probably the smartest thing, if you wanted to see what floor it's on, you could take the baseboard off, just peel the baseboard off, make a hole behind the baseboard, just, leave a 1/2 inch below the baseboard. You could cut yourself a slot and you can see if it's wet on that floor. You know what I mean? So you could, if you're really investigating and you have troubles, this is a few years down the road, if something happens, it'd be a smarter way, because then all you have to do is re-glue the baseboard. You don't even have to fix the hole because you're not going through a firewall. If you go through the corridor, you're going through firewalls.
Yes.
And this happens to be 2 layers on this side and 2 layers on the other side. So there's 4 layers of drywall to go through. That's a big fix. If you do it behind the baseboard, it's a lot easier. Some of the access doors, you could poke your head in there with a flashlight and see if you're, check for water.
Yeah.
So you can use these doors to see if there's any water, if it's coming, let's say, is it coming from a toilet or is it coming from the riser? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The toilet will be a little easy, because if it's leaking from the toilet, you'll see the spot right above the next toilet. Yeah. Yeah, the bathtub would be really tough, because even through the access doors, because of the way they designed this, you can't see from here to underside, because this is in the way. Again, if you want to see if it's the bathtub, you
Okay.
pull the baseboard, make your hole here, and have a look. Do you guys have a little inspection camera?
Yes, we do.
Oh, you do? Yeah. Well, then that's great. Yeah, you can make your hole, put your camera in, look around. Yeah, I've also, to check for leaks, we've taken off the trim and the handle and put an inspection camera down there so we could see if there's any leaks when we were testing. So, yeah, we used the camera so much that we broke it.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. So we broke my camera. So off the riser, you have 4x3 Y, and it goes to the toilet. And then just before it gets to the toilet, there's a 3-inch Y that goes that way. The 3-inch Y, this is always going to be right about here. The line goes to the shower. There's a 2-inch that goes to the shower. We could have gone 1.5 inches by code, but I always do 2-inch pipe, so it doesn't get clogged up as much. So all of your traps are 2-inch instead of 1.5 inches. Just I made them bigger so hair doesn't clog them up as fast. So you have a 3-inch pipe, 2-inch going to your tub, and then the 3-inch goes up back through the wall and then picks up the lav. And the kitchen together. And they're back to back on the same fitting. So you're only going to see one clean out, usually under the lav. But if there wasn't enough space, some of the clean outs ended up under the kitchen sinks. But there's only one clean out because it's one 3-inch pipe that you're going through.
Then it goes to a riser, which is 4 or 6 inches? 4 inches. Right?
Yeah. So every riser is closer to the back. So it's about here. So it's only about maybe 7 inches away from this corridor wall. So you have your 4-inch riser, and then about 12 inches over, you have a 3-inch vent stack. So all your venting is tied to the vent stack. So you have your 4-inch sanitary and your 3-inch vent stack. Every room is the same, and every one is about 7 inches from the corridor. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're ever thinking there is a riser that's leaking, well, you're pulling that off, making a hole, and you know that this is the sanitary. It's closer to the corridor wall. Well, rainwater, there's 2 different roof heights. So you have the upper roof, lower roof. So we're on 21. So the rainwater runs along here.
Inside the unit?
Well, above this ceiling right here. It's about 2 feet off the corridor wall. So the rainwater runs from suite 01. And it comes down. The penthouse mechanical room stops at this wall. This is, 07. Yeah, penthouse mechanical room stops at this wall. So this is your rainwater here,
Okay.
in behind here.
Okay.
So there's one extra 4-inch. I think it's actually here. So you have your rainwater here. You have one 4-inch branch that runs from O1 into here.
Okay.
But you also have the riser that goes to the upper roof that comes off just before this. So you have your 4-inch coming up. It goes that way to pick up that part of the roof. And then there's another branch that goes up for the upper roof.
Okay.
So when we go up, you'll see where it goes up. Yeah, and then that's what picks up the upper roof.
Oh,
It's on this side, this one.
okay.
Well, there are batteries, so the controllers are mounted on this side. You just have to take off the cover and replace the 4 C-cell batteries. Yeah, we have a few that our guys are still finishing them up. Today we're getting the shrouds on. We were waiting because the hot water wasn't running yet because we couldn't get the boiler we were waiting for Department of Labor to come inspect the boiler, so we couldn't have a consistent temperature yet. So we haven't been able to set the temperatures yet on the mixing valves. So I have a guy, that's what he's doing today, is just getting all these set up and getting every shrouds. By the end of the week, all the shrouds will be on. And someone stole 4 mixing valves, so yeah. So I have them coming, they're here by tomorrow, and then we finish off. This is the last floor that we did. That's why these are still untied. But yeah, the controllers are battery operated. Yeah, we'll have the mixing valves. They gave us really big mixing valves, so you'll be able to reach from underneath. You see there's a hole at the bottom. So you'll be able to reach underneath, and if you turn clockwise, warmer, counterclockwise, colder.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just you reach in, you turn, and then that's it. So I'll run through how to do these after. Yeah, we have to undo the set screw, pull, and then turn. So we'll run through how to do these. I'll be around, I guess even when you guys move in. We can do another just quick little, hey, how to change this. Yeah, we'll do that once we get everything operational. Yeah, these are all union. So all you would do is take off the shroud, shut off the water, and then undo these and just put in a new one. The screen could get clogged. So it's easy to, so if it stops working, it's the battery. If it's low pressure, it's probably the screens. Yeah. These are going to be bolted to the wall. So you have to get a wrench in here to remove these. I don't like their design, but yeah, you would have to get in here and use a little ratchet until it loosens enough. And I don't like that they wanted to use these, but they end up looking better and they're solid. The plastic ones are a lot easier to reach, but they didn't want the plastic ones. So they wanted these, they got them. They're not the best design, but like for accessibility to remove, but it is what it is. The bolts will, even though you remove it, you can put it back in. It's probably going to take 2 guys unless you can use your knee to hold it up. And yeah, it's just because they're so heavy. The plastic ones are easy to do by yourself, but these are so heavy. They decided not to do trap primers everywhere because it's so expensive, so for cost savings. But really, probably every 6 months, there has to be a little bit of water going into a floor drain. Yeah, so only some of the floor drains have trap primers. Mechanical room, they'll have trap primers. The water pump room will have one. There's one in the wall in the UTR to keep that one fresh. But the ones in the suites, they decided not to because it's very expensive. Yeah, you just have to add a bit of water. The water lasts a long time. It's a 3-inch trap. So the water would take quite a while for it to evaporate. Yeah. Okay, so if we want, we'll go up to penthouse just to look at where the end of all the venting goes. Your automatic air vents are in the E suite, that's the O2 suite, but also in the A suites, which are the 8 and 9. There's no wall behind the plumbing, behind the sink, so it's concrete. So we ended up having to put an automatic air vent on these suites as well. So every floor has 3 suites that have automatic air vents down the kitchens. So 08, 09, and 02. Yeah, if you want to have a quick look, we can look inside this.
I need a favor. Can you please?
Because there wasn't a wall behind, and there was no way to actually bring up. It was too far for a trap arm. So we were limited, so we had to do it with an automatic air vent. So, like I said, they're very easy. They're not on with a tool. You just reach up, take them off, T-tape, put a new one on. They should last at least 5 years. So I don't think you'd be having a problem for the first 5 years. But it's a good idea to have some on hand. And if one goes, it might be, a good idea to make sure the tenants in the suites know, if you ever smell anything, just let us know. Yeah, so if someone says there's sewer gas smell and it's in an 02, 08, 09, it's probably the automatic air vent. Yeah, but I don't think it should happen, but it could. And you change it, you throw it out, you put a new one on. And they're very cheap,
Okay.
maybe $15.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, yeah. So if it lasts 5 years for $15, that's pretty good. So up here in the mechanical room, the only thing I want to point out is, you see the mechanical room goes up to the eastern part of the building, and the wall is where that handicap access suite is. So the suite we were in, the 07, that's the end of the wall. So Ron was asking about the rainwater.
Oh,
So this is in the wall behind the
it's
toilet.
the rainwater.
So that's for the rainwater that picks up the upper roof. So that comes up and it goes that way. Yeah, you have to have a trap whenever you have different heights.
Oh,
So there's a running trap here and there's another trap for the other roof. The traps, I don't think you'd ever have to clean them because it's clean water. I
yeah.
really doubt you'd ever have to clean them, but they're there in case you have to. Yeah. There's a wall hydrant on the roof for the solar panels.
Okay.
So it stands up about this high. So you guys can, if you want, hook up your pressure washer to it.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's one on the roof here, and there's one outside on the roof here.
This one here.
Yeah, the white pipe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
You open it from this one.
well, I would keep it closed unless you need to turn it on, because no one else is going to use water out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the valve just for that wall hydrant. But like I said, if you guys want to set up a pressure washer, you can. When we clean them, I just used a window cleaning brush on an extension pole, and I brushed them with soapy water, and I used a squeegee. They're clean. You guys can pressure wash if you want, but if you're pressure washing and the panel is 8 feet away, your pressure washer is not going to get a lot of the stuff off. So you'd be better off having a window cleaning brush that's on a pole that extends, so you can just scrub it lightly.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, pressure washer doesn't have much punch when it's 8 feet away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so however you guys want to clean them, as long as you're not using anything abrasive, that's fine. But I would check them once in a while to see how dusty they are, because the cleaner they are, the more energy you get. Yeah. The rain should keep them clean. It's just the dusty when it goes into winter, and then in the spring, when there's a lot of dust in the street, they'll get very dusty.
Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt to check them every once in a while. Plus you get to go out on the roof. Well, the snow should come off by itself. Yeah, it should come off by itself. It shouldn't stay on for very long. When it snowed the last time here, there was some snow on and it all melted off. Well, the glycol is still hot. It's still running through. Yeah. I think the only times you might have a problem with snow is maybe when it's extremely cold, but it doesn't usually snow when it's extremely cold. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to snow for the next 3-4 days, but it's also going to be 4 degrees tomorrow. It's going to be messy. When it's minus 20, it doesn't usually snow very much, but it doesn't hurt. You can just go up the hatch access, go up, pop it, see them, and I don't know, there's no way that's going to freeze. Yeah. Sometimes you'll have freezing from it's too high, so it should only be about 12 inches off the roof. So like outside here, we have a couple that we still have to cut, but if they're higher than 12 inches, as your warm air comes up and you have the cold, you get ice on the top. So it might be too tall. You might have to cut it down. If you look under and it's not insulated, well, that's a big reason why it's going to freeze. So everything here is 10 feet back. It has to be insulated. Yeah. So that's for all the vents. There's not much else for plumbing. I'll get my guy to explain whatever you want.
This is heat exchanger 1. Your heated glycol comes in down here and back out to heat up the hydronic heating loop. Yeah, so this does your heating loop with the heat pumps outside. Pump 1 and pump 2. Like the outside pumps. This would be the primary, right? Because your heat pumps are the primary heat source. So it heats this heat exchanger. Those pumps behind you there run the other side of the heat exchanger, which go back to the heating loop. Preventative maintenance, it'll start leaking would probably be the only thing that you'd have to drain it all out, spread it open, and clean all the plates out. Other than that, there's really nothing you can maintain on it. The glycol level as it sits now should stay about where it is. The only reason that it would ever pump more in is if you lost some somewhere or there was a big temperature change. Like if it cooled way off and the pump wasn't running, then it would push a little bit more in. And then when it heated up, it would probably push a little bit out through the relief valve. So it will stay on its own where it is now. In terms of checking and like just preventative maintenance, there is an alarm system on it.
Yeah.
If the level goes too low, the alarm will go off.
But we just will leave in red.
And it'll be a red light and it'll be a loud, I can turn it on.
Too. Okay.
Like you can test it with this button here. It says test on it. That will go off continually until you hit the silence button if there was no fluid in there.
Okay.
So you'd hear that as soon as you come up into the room, right? You hear this loud, there's not really much to maintain on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Just make sure that there is some in there. If there isn't, the alarm will be going off. Each pump has a VFD controller. As long as it's in auto, the system will take care of it. You can turn it into hand if you wanted to speed it up or slow it down for whatever reason, or shut it off completely. You do have a suction diffuser on each pump down here. There's like a strainer basket inside this. You may have to clean that out once in a while. Like you shouldn't, because there's filters on the system, right? But if for some reason the pressure gauge showed that there was a blockage in here, you can't open it. Yeah, 4 bolts, and that opens, and there's like a basket inside there that just slides out. It's just like a strainer. Wow. Yeah, you'd have to turn the pump off as it is now, right? And then shut this on both sides, and then drain it out through here.
And then we can open.
Yes. There's a rubber gasket inside there. It's reusable, yeah.
Put new one.
No, it's reusable. Yes, inside there's a basket strainer, just like the strainer behind him. Yeah. If these gauges weren't reading the same, like if this gauge was really low, but this one was high, there's some difference here. So this is probably plugged up.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, before you open that, make sure this is not running. Shut both isolation valves, drain the bottom, and while you're draining, you can open this as a vent so that it won't just be airlocked. And then fill it back up, turn the valves on, turn the pump back on. And once you're refilling it, you could pump it back in there, or you could fill it with that.
Okay.
You could pour the pail back in the top of the glycol fill tank, and the fill tank will bring you back up to pressure. Yes, all the pumps would be the same procedure to do that, yes. There are a couple pumps that don't have these, like on the boiler. The 2 boilers, they just run 100% drive all the time. But it's the same, you can shut them off with a disconnect on the wall. Just like these pumps have disconnects on the wall over there. Yeah. To refill it, you would shut the drain valve, close the vent, and then just open this up to like the first notch. You'll hear the fluid start filling in, and then this should push up the pressure if it needs to. And then once you see the gauges start reading all the same again, you can open up all the other valves, turn the pump back on. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely don't want to turn that on until you have fluid inside there.
The water, the basic
That's your water to water heat pump 1 and 2. Like all this is doing is taking heat off the heating loop and putting it into the storage tanks or the
water tank.
yeah, the water tanks. They're not so much storage tanks. They're like heat conversion tanks for domestic water.
Yeah.
This way the heating loop doesn't have to run so hot, right? It's like refrigeration in reverse. That will show you, you can see what's happening with the display on the front of the unit, but they are mirrored to each other, so the other display's on the other side for the other unit. This will just show you, like your set point, I believe, is 142.8, and then you're at 142 right now. Yes. If there's any alarms, there'll be a little red bell looking symbol on there, it'll be flashing. If there is an alarm, you'd have to look at what the building management system is saying about it, right? I don't know if you can reset it here, but you could probably, well, you could probably silence the alarm here and then use the building management, yeah, to find out for sure what's happening before you try to restart it again. It's kind of the same as the pumps. Each side has a strainer on it, and there's pressure gauges and temperature gauges that we don't have yet. But they're on each line, right? So if you notice that one gauge is way different than the other, chances are you may have a blockage in here.
Okay.
But the chances of that are really rare. If this is plugged to drain it out, up here you have 2 isolation valves on each side. So you would shut these 2, drain it here. There is a little vent here to break the airlock, and then you'd be able to open this, or just take the plug out to drain this little tiny bit, and then remove the clamp. Same thing, it's going to be a wire basket in there.
Wire basket.
This is a disconnect for the whole unit. This will shut the power off completely. Yeah, it just pushes up 90 degrees, and it'll kill the power to the whole unit.
Okay.
This is your main disconnect. That's just more of a status screen. It just shows you what's going on. I don't think there's much in terms of things you can do with that. In terms of knowing what's, it would just be the screen, or the BMS would tell you that something's wrong. There's nothing really that you can do with this. It's all self-contained, right? There's refrigerant and everything involved in here. Like, there's nothing you can really do. Just keep the dust off of it and clean. Well, from your dad, like to keep it clean, you can just blow it off with something, or wipe it off with a rag or a dusting head. But for the most part, if there's no alarm, it just runs itself. There's nothing to maintain on here at all. Unlike, I guess with pumps, there's also, there should be some grease zerks on them for the main shaft. Yeah, on the pumps, each pump. Let's just try to look at one and you can actually see what it, I know that there's a couple that do have it. Yeah, the bigger ones have them on the back. You can see it right here.
Okay.
It's just a little plastic cap. And just a grease gun. The manual will state what the owner's manual will say what kind of grease it takes. I don't think it says on the unit at all. Again, the owner's manual will say how often it should be greased, right? I'm sure it's different for each, because this pump's much bigger than that one, and then it depends on how much they run. Dom was saying you might want to go through changing one of these.
Yeah.
You want to go through this? Because we can do one over there.
Okay.
So this is your side stream filter setup. There's 3 of them on this floor. This one's for hot water heating specifically. So to change this, you just close the 2 valves on each side. This one's convenient because there's a floor drain right by it. You may have to loosen this just to let air in behind it. So you can see what's happening in there. It's slowly starting, there it goes. Each one has a little tool on top to loosen the collar. But once it's drained, I'll pull it open for you. And you want me to run through the pot feeder as well? I mean, I can do the pot feeder while we wait for that to keep going. So your isolation valves on your pot feeder, there's one on each side. If you were filling it, you'd want to make sure these are both closed. There's a vent here. You could open that to make sure there's nothing in here. If there is, you drain it through the drain on the bottom here. We have a funnel that screws into this that will leave at each one. So you actually have something you can pour, not this tiny little, oh, we'll leave it for you. We just have them all 3 together.
Okay.
Hang on. We just keep them all together, otherwise we'll lose them or someone will use it for something and it'll be gone. Right? But this will be screwed into this so you can actually pour into it. So you would open this to fill it, with make sure the drain's closed. Fill up to the vent. Have the vent open while you're filling it. And then once you have it filled, close the fill valve, close the vent, open up both of these slowly, wait a minute or two and let the water run through it. And then shut these again, hook up your drain to the drain, open the drain, open the vent, let it drain completely.
It should be dry.
Yeah, and then cycle repeats itself again, right? Close everything up, open this, fill it, until you put all the chemical in that you want. So this key goes into this collar, and this is kind of hot. So if you didn't let it drain, it would go all over your hands, right? So you can see the filter sometimes is still a little bit white on the inside. So you could flip it over, because you'll see that it's not quite white. So you can flip this over and put this back to get more use out of your filter, right? To use it more. That just has to be snug. It doesn't really have to be super tight. So make sure the drain's closed. Make sure this thing's snug again. Slowly open that, and then open this a little bit to bleed the air off. But then make sure you tighten it again, and then just open this one. And you'll see what's happening here. Like if the marble's not dancing around, you probably want to change the filter or flip it over, depending on how it looks, right? But it should be erratically moving, but to this side. If it's just sitting in the center and not doing anything, it's not flowing at all. Any other questions about anything? The chemical, yeah, would be inhibitor. If there was something else wrong with the system, you could put something else into there. But yeah, chances are you're probably just adding inhibitor. I'm not sure if you do. In terms of chemical testing, somebody else would have to do that. We've done all that right now, so everything is good. Glycol percentages are where they're supposed to be. The inhibitor levels are up to where they're supposed to be. So everything, all the water systems requiring treatment are good right now. Right. Every time you take something out, it does remove a little bit of material from the system. But they have a water makeup. The hydronic systems have a water makeup system. The hot water and the chilled water have domestic water makeups. And the glycol systems have fill tanks. Right, so there's another one over there that would maintain that. The amount that you take out is really small, but I guess over time it would add up. But these systems will maintain the pressure, yeah. These 4 storage tanks, 1 to 4, 1 and 2 are for glycol heating.
Glycol heating, okay.
With the heat pumps outside.
Okay.
And 3 and 4 are the 2 taller tanks. That's for the solar heating, just as a buffer tank for this heat exchanger for domestic water.
For domestic water.
Yeah.
Okay. For domestic water.
But it's glycol in both tanks. The smaller, darker tanks over here, that's domestic water for the hydronic hot water heating to heat up the domestic water. This is like a preheat system. The tanks do have drains. Each one does have a drain. I don't think you'd have like much sediment to remove from them. They also have 2 gauges, each one, that shows you pressure and temperature. I suppose if you notice that gauge isn't lining up with other gauges.
And we have to maintain it that way. So yeah, so that will be our
It just
baseline.
gives you an indication of what is going on inside the tank, right? Again, this is nothing to maintain here.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you could, it's full of glycol. You could let some out to see what's inside there. Yeah, it shouldn't really corrode much because of the glycol that's inside it, right? It's all oily, so it's kind of its own inhibitor, right? These 2 lines are the hot water, domestic hot water going down and cold water going up, as well as the hot water recirc ties back in here. So it's only cold water up to this point, and then it becomes hot water recirc. Your cold line for this floor comes off here and splits off in the ceiling to do wall hydrants, mop sinks, eye wash station. There's a big check valve in here so that this can't go back this way. And this is your hot water recirc pump up here. The other one's on the 2nd floor in the electrical room close to the elevator. Because this is the high-rise portion of the water, right? The building is split at the 11th and 12th floor. So your lower domestic hot water recirc pump is on 2 and only serves up to 11. Yeah. This one serves 12 and up. Speed, yeah. This is a knob for speed. There's 1, 2, and 3. There's a little picture underneath. There should be 5 backflow preventers, and those would be these. There's a check valve here, but it's just, there's nothing to maintain on that. From downstairs at the street. Like it's the cold water service from the booster pump all the way up, yeah. It basically stops here, yes, because the hot water recirc ties into the same line, which then this would not be cold water anymore. So like you get cold water out of this tap, but you wouldn't get cold water up here anymore.
This is cold water.
This is the cold water for this floor.
Okay, just
For your like your eye wash station, your mop sink, your hose bib valves that go outside. If that wasn't working, then you'd have hot water coming out of your cold water tap.
So it's only hot water.
Yeah. You were asking about backflow preventer valves?
That was backflow.
Right. There's 5 of those on this floor. 2 of which are here.
Okay.
And this is for your domestic water. And then there's another one behind him. Every water makeup has one. It's down here. So there's another one for the chilled water system over there.
Okay.
So 1, 2.
3,
There's a
4.
second one for hot water.
Okay.
So there's 2 for hot water heating. There's 1 for chilled water.
Okay.
And then these 2 for domestic. Yes, they have to be serviced.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the only backflows
Then
we
we would
have.
have it on the first floor, on the main
Yeah, on main floor there should be 2
two of them.
big backwater valves.
So second.
As long as well as every other mop sink.
All
I think there's another mop sink on the first floor. There's one on staggered floors through the building. I don't know which floors. So if someone left this valve on,
what
because of the backflows, the water won't go the other way. That's why you have a backflow. So you could leave this on, plug this, it's not going this way. It may work its way, well, if this valve was open, but it's only gonna get to here. It's not gonna go back through the whole system. On this roof, there's one there, and one back there. And they just run all the way down here and go down where he is over there. This is your domestic hot water mixing valves.
Okay.
So it's gonna mix the hot water with cold water to get tempered hot water.
Get like
But they are digital and they are hooked up to the BMS. So there's a status screen on it.
yeah.
So if something's wrong, you may get a red flashing light, but the BMS should tell you what that is,
What it is.
right? Again, there's nothing really to service here.
It's
There-
only for you. Yeah. If something
Well, it's just
wrong,
for the
you
building, yeah. A tech would have to come and service that if something was wrong. There will be thermometers on each side of it on the hot water line. So if something was wrong, you'd be able to see, like physically, what the temperature coming out of the line is without needing electronics or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we should have those valves today, or those gauges today, so they should be in by this afternoon. On all the heat exchangers and all this.
Okay.
You can see on the back side of them, these little dials, if you look up at them.
Yeah.
That just shows you what position the valve is in. To the left is cold, to the right is hot. So as the flow goes through the building, like there's probably no flow right now because there's no one in here doing anything.
It will show like how exactly.
It will
mixed
show, yes, where the position of the valve is as it's going. So it'll just rock back and forth. Most part it'll probably be in the middle, but it'll always set back to cold if it's not doing anything, right?
Yeah.
But since there's no one in the building running any water, it's not really doing anything. If you wanted to change the set point of the domestic water, you would do that through BMS.
Through BMS.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it would work. It would tell that to the heat pumps. It would tell that to the boilers, right?
Oh. Yeah.
But yeah, adjusting that set point would be through BMS because that should have full control of everything. There's a lot in here, but it's not, once you get into it, it's not all that bad. There's just a whole lot of stuff in a small space, right? So it looks like a lot. There's one valve open and one valve closed because the one that's closed is a bypass valve. If something were to go wrong with both of these, you can let water past the control valves with the bypass, which is shut because it would be too hot, right? You would be able to like let some hot water in if those two valves both went down. That's why one is shut, one's open. But that will be labeled before we're done as a bypass